And here we go. Welcome everyone
Yo!
to our special segment called Talking With, and a little interview process we have for
Sure.
2021 rest of the brand. It's me, LT Sean.
J Skills 19, what's going on? And we have a very special guest with us today.
Yes.
A very long time artist and a long time ally of Purely Wishful Thinking. We give you guys the Magnificent Abby.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And I just wanted to say too, this is actually my first time actually seeing her in the face, instead of just Facebook messaging and hearing her voice. So
Right.
it's good.
Yeah, this is the closest we've ever come to face so far.
Yes.
This is the first time I've ever seen her. So this is hi, nice to meet you.
I drew you. Does that count?
Yes, you drew us.
Art somewhere now.
Yes, art somewhere.
Okay, bring it down. I'm gonna bring it down because mine is way too high. So, for those who probably don't know by the intro already, is that Abby Rose is a very talented artist. Not in the musical sense, but of just drawing. Is there other forms of art that you do?
Well, I actually did do a lot of music in school, but mostly I do studio type arts. So I do a lot of drawing. I do a little bit of painting. I also do some fiber arts like crochet and sewing, and I'm getting more into cosplay in the last couple of years. But my focus is mostly on drawing.
Nice.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Do you want to tell the people sort of how we met so that they have a more concept of the relationship?
So that's kind of a funny story. Back when I was in college and I was home for winter break, I got I don't know what exactly you'd call it. I went to a local print shop and I just sort of helped out. I was supposed to be doing art stuff, but I didn't really end up doing a lot, partially because I was only there for a week. And the person who owned this print shop had one other employee there named Tracy.
Mhm.
And we friended each other on Facebook. We talked for a little bit while I was there, and I never really heard from him again. And I'm really bad about that too. So
Right there with you.
until a few years later, it was like 2 or 3 years later, and he messaged me and he's like, "Hey, you do art, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I know this guy who's looking for a comic book artist. Do you do that?" And I was like, "I would love to." It's only, my lifelong dream, no big deal. And so he got me in touch with you and we started talking, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Yes, it's a great process to be working with. I I always feel like a lot of the time though when writers and artists are just like other people get together, it's always who's on top. I'm in charge of this and you just do this. But
Right.
I think it's important, especially even working with Jay here, is that it's me and it's we're both on the same wavelength. We collaborate, we work together, even all the way down to just storylines. Just even as I outline stuff, it's good to always say, hey, what do you think about this arc and this? And I didn't really write this question down, but
You're fine.
but this a question that I actually was thinking to ask you was uh as an artist and someone who is kind of getting into the more of the comic world and working with someone, how important do you think it is for the artist and the writer to have a relationship, or do you think it should be like you send me the information and then I just draw it?
I think it's important to have at least some relationship. Just in general, people who know each other on some degree tend to work better together. Generally, the better you know somebody, the better you can work with them. Um, I think it makes the process less stressful, at least for me personally. When I signed up for this, I did not expect that you would handle it the way that you did. And I have no experience with this previously, but reading about the comic book industry, normally the writer writes and the artist draws, and the writer apparently usually writes what the artist is supposed to draw, which was really weird to me. So it's really refreshing to have this complete back and forth between the two of us. And it really helps me know exactly what page I'm supposed to be on and lets me know that I'm going in the right direction.
Okay, that's cool.
Nice, awesome. So seeing how this is my first time meeting you, hi, I'm Jay.
Hello.
I was 19. Nice to meet you. So yeah, Lamont was telling me that that not only that you are an artist, right? Like you also do fashion. Am I correct?
Yeah, yes, a little bit. So I have always been really interested in mostly historical fashion growing up. And I did almost go to school for apparel design instead of art, which I told Lamont. And so it's still definitely one of my interests. And I love to look at fashion and draw fashion. I do a little bit of my own stuff. I do a little bit of my own sewing. I do some crochet. Um, but yeah, that's still been one of my interests.
Awesome, awesome. I was gonna say, so like I said, so you're not only an artist, right? You do comic books, you draw, you're awesome at it, right? You like fashion, boom, ultimate, multiple avenue, multiple bags. You feel me? I was gonna say, like, how important as it is, like, what is in your opinion? Like, this is totally unbiased. Again, this is why I'm asking her. It's her opinion. Don't try to butcher us, the internet. In your as a oh my god, I'm sorry. This is so oh god. I'm really bad at this. I'm screwing up really bad. I'm really bad. Okay. As an artist or as a person, what do you feel like is your definition of an influencer? Like as an artist or as a fashion?
Well, I mean, I feel like we all have more or less the same thing that comes to mind when we think of an influencer. When I think of somebody who is called an influencer, it is usually somebody who lives their life on social media, typically Instagram, and is paid to live a lavish lifestyle and kind of paid to make people feel FOMO.
Oh yeah,
um,
very good at it too.
what I think a more authentic version of the word influencer would be somebody who is I guess I view it as being helpful in a sense. I follow some people that you might call influencers, but the reason I follow them is because they do things like giving genuine reviews for different makeup products, or they'll be like, "Hey, I bought this massage gun and I'm going to tell you if it works any good." Things like that. Um so generally, I think most people, and myself included, tend to think of it as something that's very commercialized. And while it is commercial in a sense, it is it can be something that is more helpful to other people.
Nice.
Speaking of helpful too, and something that our marketing person Samantha was telling us
Shout
about
out Samantha.
is all about like setup and education. And as someone who's been doing this for a while, and there's a lot of people out there who might be watching this interview later in the future, you know, what is like as an artist, what do you think is the most is a important setup to have, like the equipment, like what do you think are for a beginning artist are the essential things that they should have other than just like the spunk and the tenacity, like
So you
the
mean like the
hardware.
physical objects?
Hmm.
Um, I guess that kind of depends on what direction you want to go because even just, at my school, I could have been a new media major, which was mostly digital art. I could have been ceramics major. I could have been a painting major. I could have been a fiber arts major. And those are all things that fall under the umbrella of art that require very different things. For somebody who wants to draw, if you are doing digital drawing, a cheap tablet can get you very far.
Okay.
I used to try to draw with my finger on my trackpad, and it was awful. I do not recommend it. Also, don't draw with a mouse. It's also terrible. But you can get a $50, $60 drawing tablet from a couple of different places. You can get the app Procreate on your iPad if you have an iPad and a pen. Procreate's only $10 and it has basically everything that Photoshop has in terms of drawing, at least. For traditional artists, I take a pencil and a sketchbook basically everywhere I go. I take it in the car with me when we're traveling. I take it when I'm going someplace and I don't know if I'm going to get antsy or not. It's just something that encourages something small can really be encouraging for your daily practice, which is something one of my professors did. He had a small sketchbook and we had to draw in it every single day. And then he would check to make sure he
Cool.
drew in it every single day.
Awesome. Like you said, you mentioned earlier that the equipment that you use, like, there's so many different outlets and like, things that you could have done. For you, like, what is basically your creative process? Like, you have the equipment, right? Now, like, take us through like your day-to-day like creative process when it comes to either drawing or when it comes to the fashion in general.
Like
So
Yeah.
kind of like what is like your, I think what you're saying is like, what's your routine for by prepping for any type of art in general? Like what's like your process, right? Because it is a process.
yeah. So first I like to get some of my other things out of the way. Like I'll eat lunch / breakfast because I have a weird sleeping schedule thanks to my job. But and then I do Italian lessons online to practice my Italian. So I'll do those. I'll do some tidying up, things like that. And then once all those little things are done, then I sit down and draw because I'm not going to worry about them.
Okay.
Get myself something to drink because once I sit down and I'm in the zone, I probably won't be moving for 2 or 3 hours
Nice.
unless I'm on fire.
Okay, love those.
Yeah, so I get that real strong hyperfixation. I like hyper focus on my drawing if it's going well. If it's not going well, I can't focus at all. Um, so I get everything that I need in one place. I get snacks that I think I might want, something to drink. I get uh, all of my tools together. And then when I'm drawing, sometimes I'll watch a show in the background, but 9 times out of 10, I'm listening to music.
Mhm.
And it's usually something that pumps me up or something that I feel is relevant to what I'm working on. Like if I'm working on comic book stuff, I tend to listen to things like soundtracks from action movies and things like that.
Okay, I like
Nice.
something just like a little off the course for a brief moment. You mentioned that that you learned Italian. Would you mind showing us a little song you got? Just you got anything?
What is let's see. I've been practicing Italian on Duolingo, but I haven't actually spoken Italian with people in a few months. So, ho studiato a Roma per 3 mesi, ma ho dimenticato molto l'italiano.
What?
I literally just said I studied in Rome for 3 months, but I forgot most of my Italian.
Hey, that's me in Spanish, man. Right there.
Yeah.
I don't know what she said. It was lit, but I don't know what the hell she was.
So yeah.
It's all good. So like you said, you're in the zone, you're gonna be there for 2-3 hours. So like my question to you is like, if you could, let's just say magically you won the lottery. Somehow like you're walking down the street and all of a sudden $50,000 just come hurling out you out the window, right? And
All
you
right.
catch it, you're like, oh, awesome, I have money now. Awesome. What would you actually do with that money technically, like as an artist wise? Like what is your dream setup? If you were to get $50,000 out of middle of nowhere, what is your dream setup?
Well, part of my dream setup includes a house because we're kind of running out of room in our apartment.
Yeah.
I recently got a big drawing tablet. It's like a 20-inch drawing tablet. It's basically a third monitor for my computer that I can draw on.
Nice.
And I'm also a gamer, so I have a
Whoop,
PC
whoop.
set up. Yeah, I have a PC set up. I have 2 monitors and my glowy keyboard and my glowy mouse, and it takes up my entire desk. So I don't have room for my drawing tablet. And I have another desk in the study, but that has my sewing machine on it, so I can't use that either.
Right.
So I actually just have this flimsy little TV tray. It's a little sad. A little flimsy little TV tray that I have to take in and I put it up next to my desk and I put my giant tablet on it and I plug it in and I start drawing. So then every time I'm done using my tablet, because I don't really have a safe place to leave it out, and also because we have 2 cats, I have to unplug it and fold it down and like stuff it in the closet. So big part of my dream setup would include having more space. Actually, that's pretty much 90% of my dream setup would just be having more space for that. Because I think I have pretty much everything that I feel like I really need in quotation marks. I just got that new tablet that I mentioned.
Which is
I really
fire.
love, yeah, it's pretty sweet. I have, the 1 or 2 drawing programs that I've ever really plan on using. Um, I'm getting more and more accustomed to digital art, which makes things a lot easier because everything that you need is in one place. And I don't need, like 50 tubes of paint. I just need my tablet and my computer.
Oh, yeah, that's a good convenience right there.
Convenience.
So I want to take a little hard turn real fast and talk about something that we've actually talked about quite a few times the last few years, and it's about kind of like bad actors, as far meaning like people who have not shown an interest in whether it's art, fashion, writing, music, whatever it is. And I'm just curious. I'm uh, like, what's your opinion on people who just see this as like see what you do as a trend or a profit and say, well, I'm already popular or I've already done this, so I'm gonna just go here, even though I don't have that same passion. It's just because, again, just something to do or it's a profit. Like, what's your take on that in your perspective? Without having to
Um,
mention names, because I know we mentioned names between us.
oh, okay, I remember now.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, it is kind of what did the kids say? A feels bad. It's a term I picked up from my younger brother. Now I can't stop saying it. Um, there is, at least for me, it is kind of it hurts a little bit to see something that you have been working towards your entire life and somebody sort of picks it up on a whim, and because they have a bigger audience for them, it just works for them. Um, that's not to say that they can't pursue those things. And, I'm sure sometimes, a lot of times, those things probably are valid, but we've seen a lot of people who just say, oh, I have an audience and this other thing is popular right now. So I'm just going to sort of pick my audience up and move them over here. And then I can make a lot of money and or get a lot of attention or whatever it is. Maybe they just want to dabble. Maybe they just want to line their pockets a bit. But whatever it is, it does kind of sting a bit. Um, but I do get really angry about it sometimes. I try not to because there's not really anything I can do about it, but I do get angry.
Actually, I want to piggyback on that a little bit too. If you had the opportunity, again, not to a specific person, but just anyone who does have that mindset in general, if you could say something to them, well, what would your message be to those people who, you know, maybe not necessarily have the passion, but it's maybe because it's trending or because it's profitable? If you could say something to them, like
Uh,
as an artist yourself and as just someone who loves to make that type of content.
well, first, I would probably ask them why they're doing it. Hopefully, I getting them to admit the real reason behind it, whether it's profit or popularity or whatever. Um, Also, this is bold of you to assume I'm able to confront people.
Oh yeah, that's why you have us though. You just say, hey,
You know,
hey, that
if
guy right there. Just like tell him this real
yeah,
fast.
just give him this note. Um,
This is from her over there.
No,
yeah,
it's not a phone number. You just
excellent.
suck.
Um, and I guess I would also want to know why they feel the need to go into that particular thing. Like why, if there are so many people who have been working for this thing their entire lives,
Mhm.
and some of them will never get noticed. They'll never make it their career. And, why do you need to do this thing that you are not passionate about if somebody else who is passionate about it will never be able to do it?
Nice, nice. And with that being said, why do you do what you do? Like, why do you love your art so much? Like, why do you love fashion so much? Like, why do you do what you do?
Because I gotta. I can't not do it.
Great
Is
answer.
really
Great
the
answer.
simple answer. Back in September, I stopped. I wasn't drawing for like 4 or 5 weeks because I was having really bad wrist problems and I had to let my wrist recover. And it was driving me up a wall to not be able to draw for an entire month. I had I had so many ideas and I just missed it in general too. Like I just it was driving me crazy. And I've been drawing for my entire life. Like there was no, I can't remember a single point in my life where I wasn't drawing. So it's just, I just gotta do it. I used to always keep little tiny notepads and pencils in my purse just in case I got into ideas or I was like stuck somewhere and I had nothing to do or whatever. I just gotta do it.
Yeah, that's that little voice is like, hey, I have an idea, but I know you can't do nothing right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's always like that's always like the curse of an artist. Is like the moment like it always seems like when you can't, because not to turn on me though
Oh
for
no,
a
you're
moment,
good. You're good.
but like even when like whether I'm like doing an outline for a comic or a future comic, or I'm still stuck on this current project, like it's just like, hey, you got this other project that I just thought of right now, and this one too. Like, I mean, you can't do it now. You got these, but hey, here's 12 more ideas that you can't do, and you gotta wait. It's
Yeah.
always like that voice that just like I just gotta just like maybe I can take a break real fast and just do this.
Yeah. Like a month or two ago, I was working on these uh some modern designs for different characters. And I was kind of stuck on a couple of them. I wasn't quite sure what to do. And then like the next 2 or 3 times that I took a shower, I was just like in the middle of my shower, shampooing my hair, like, I know.
It's always
And
the
I had to
shower.
like rush. It's always the shower. So I had to like rush through the shower and like run out and get my idea down. And or like I'll be listening to a song and I will just like have this crystal clear vision of like an animation or a video or something, and I have to tell myself, Abby, you're not an animator. Don't do this to yourself.
It's yeah, oh man, actually that brings me to like a question that like I thought of like okay, do you when you watch like movies like Pixar and Disney, like that really do focus heavily on like the 3D animation, do you ever get inspired or look at it from from like art's perspective, like, oh, I see what you did there, even though like you might be able to do that type of animation, like for still art, does it ever like give you like influence you in a type of way, like, okay, I see that this very simplistic art right here still brings in people. It's just like how you communicate the story and everything. Like, do you as an artist like see like like even simple designs and animation and still get inspired by that?
Oh yeah. Oh man. Spider-Verse.
God, best one.
Haven't seen it.
That's yeah.
You haven't seen
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
I'm gonna give you my Netflix, so we're gonna watch this later.
I have Netflix now.
I've not seen it.
Because I'm not a pirate. I'm not going to use anybody else's. I'm an adult. I am an adult. I'm adulting.
Yes, that's always fun.
No, it's not. That's true. Not at all. Snap. Okay. What is it? What was the? Oh my goodness. This is way harder than I thought this would be. I am not this bad at this stuff.
You were also our first interview of 2021.
In general, period.
Nice.
All right.
So we're setting the tone right now.
We are setting the tone. All right. So, as an artist, right? Like you said earlier in the podcast about people doing things in bad taste, and I asked you, why do you do what you do? What do you think is an essential, like dead essential as an artist to do what you want to do? This type of like, I guess. This is terrible, bro.
I think I get what you're meaning, man. He's also always this hard on himself, even in public. No, I think
feel that.
Yeah. I'm just usually just staring into the wall, just thinking, why am I doing any of this? Am I wasting time? No, I think what he's trying to say is, what do you think? Like, I think outside of like the hardware and the software, what do you think is essential to you as an artist? Like that non-physical.
Right.
What do you think?
Non-physical expected.
Like, what do you think is essential as an artist from your perspective?
I think you need to have the drive, and not just the will to do it, but the want to do it. Like you have to have the desire to do it. If you don't enjoy drawing, like if you don't particularly like doing art and you're trying to force yourself to draw things for one reason or another, first of all, you're going to be miserable. And second of all, it's probably going to show in your art. Sometimes you can tell when people try to force themselves to do something that they don't typically enjoy doing. And it just shows, because if you're not if you're not loving it, you're just not going to put the same amount of effort into it. And you're not going to comprehend it the same way. There's a lot of mental processes that happen when you're making art or drawing or doing something. And the way your mind clicks when you're doing something that you love is just so different from when you're trying to force yourself to do something that you don't want to do.
Right.
That's so true.
Awesome. And my second question I was gonna follow up is that like how has your art changed over these years? Like how from beginning all the way until now?
I've been focusing less on trying to do things the way other people do things and more on letting my art evolve naturally in its own way. I used to take online classes like on Skillshare, and I used to do watch video tutorials and things like that, look through tutorials online. And it was a little helpful to me, but I feel like overall it was more harmful than it was helpful for me in particular, because I look at all of these things and I say, well, they're doing it right and I'm not doing it that way, therefore I'm doing it wrong.
Right.
So instead of adjusting my approach to something that I was happy with, what I tended to do was to just try to copy their approach.
Mm.
And, if that would work for my brain, I would have been doing that from the beginning.
Uh-huh.
And it's kind of falls in line with the whole, if you don't love it, it's not going to work out. That's not my process. That's not the way my brain goes through the art process. So I'm not going to comprehend it the same way, and it's not going to turn out the same way. Like if you are trying to, unless you are very good at copying other people, most times if you are trying to mimic something else, it's just not going to have the same effect as something that you do that is genuinely yours. So that's something that I've been focusing on by stepping back, not looking up as many tutorials, and just doing more of my own thing and letting it evolve in a more natural way.
Yeah, I can attest to that a bit because even in between projects, like I won't well how's that? Yeah, I find myself not necessarily reading like I'll have authors I look up to, but I don't necessarily always read their work because just like you said too, there's like that like sort of like not the fear, but just that always that thought like, okay, when I make my content, am I making it the way I'm making it, or because they're making it that way and it works for them, and they always would say like, you get better by reading, and the only thing I read is like kind of self-help where they don't where people don't necessarily tell me how to do it. They just kind of like tell me who's doing it, just like how to do it. And I think for what you said too, like just learning just if anything like like all the styles and just like kind of feeling what's yours, I think is very important. And what's also important too is as artists in general and people who are constantly creating creative content. I'll say, let me pull this close so I can actually read this. I think I might have sent you this one. All right, here we go. We are all often our own worst critics. So like, how do you fight that little voice in your head that's like always telling you like, is this good enough, or I think you might waste your time, like that little negative voice, that just angry critic that's just always hammering in there. How do you like fight against that voice?
Well, trick question. A lot of the times I don't. Because I have anxiety and some other stuff. So it's really hard to just shut that up. Um, but aside from that, a couple of things that help me is one of them is to step back. Like if I'm getting overwhelmed and I'm trying to shove my way through it, it's not going to work, and I'm going to get more anxious, and then my art's going to get worse because I'm more anxious, and then I'll get more anxious because my art is worse, and then it just kind of snowballs.
The circle.
Yeah. The other thing is that I tend to show my stuff to somebody else, either because outside validation is very gratifying,
Yeah,
or because fresh eyes can help a lot. Like my husband doesn't draw a ton, but he has a very good eye for different artistic things. He does some other things on his own, like he paints miniatures and things like that. So he understands color. He has a pretty good grasp of anatomy. He has a pretty good eye for art in general. So I'll show him something. I'll just say like, I don't know, I just feel like it's not working. And he'll say, well, I really like the way you drew her hair. Like it looks really dynamic. Or he'll say, I really like this other thing. I think this thing is working really well. And he'll say something like, I think the perspective on this looks weird. Or I think these colors are too close together on the color wheel. So fresh eyes can really help because one, he tells me what I do is good. which is a little helpful. But also because it kind of helps me reorient myself in where I'm going with it, because a lot of the times he's noticed the same mistakes that that I've been worried about, which lets me know that I'm not overthinking this. I was right. I do need to go back and fix that. Or he'll point out things that I wasn't really that keen on, and he'll say like, "This is awesome."
Yeah, it's always good to have that.
Yeah.
I want to say something that something that you said earlier too about like having like good praise and good opinions. What are, if you can remember, the little off notes is what is the best critique you've ever gotten, and what is one that kind of just like, dang, I felt like a shot in the chest. Like if you can remember any.
Well, the worst critique, I would say, is not necessarily a critique, but times where I've been really excited about something that I did and I showed it to someone and they were just kind of
Oh
like,
yeah.
awesome. Thanks for shooting me down. As far as the best critique, the first thing that comes to mind was actually a couple of things. But the one of them was when I was in college and I was a studio art major, and we had to do portfolio reviews every semester. So towards the end of the semester, you'd take all of the artwork that you'd done in all of your studios, you'd pick the best ones, you'd put them up on the gallery wall like you were having a gallery opening, and you'd present it to all the professors, and they would grade, they'd grade your art, they'd grade your presentation, they'd grade how you presented it on the wall, things like that. And there was this one professor who he wasn't mean, but he was very harsh, but in a good way. He wasn't unnecessarily harsh. He didn't mince words when he was telling you things that you needed to improve.
He was correctly
And
critical.
what?
He was correctly critical.
Yes, yes. Um, and so it was my first portfolio review. So first semester, my freshman year. And I was so nervous. And I had everything up on the wall, and all the professors are talking about my art. And that professor stepped forward and he points at one of my drawings and he says, I love that. And I was really happy with that, of course, at the time. But then afterwards, people came up to me and they're like, oh my gosh, Bill started off with a compliment. He never does that. So I didn't realize how big of a moment it was apparently at the time until they moved on and everyone came over. They're like, did you see that?
You're like, well, I know, I
They're
tried.
like, oh, okay. Yeah.
That is an amazing story. I was gonna ask you, do you like when can you remember, like way as far back as you can remember, when did you actually want to take art serious and actually pursue it as a career? Like, you know what, I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life and make a lot of monies off what I do. So
I have been, like I said, I've been drawing my entire life. There's all of my earliest memories are me drawing. I have a pretty clear memory of when I was very, very young. I don't know exactly how old I was, but it was the first time that I drew, because a lot of little kids draw hands as a circle, on the end of a stick. And I drew fingers, and I was so proud of myself that I had drawn fingers on a hand. I think I was 3 or 4.
yeah.
So I've just always been drawing, and I think as soon as I learned that there were people that do that for their jobs, I was like, well, yeah. Of course that's what I want to do. I had some other things, for a long time I couldn't decide if I wanted to be an artist or a scientist, but science is something that I still enjoy learning about sort of as a hobby, but I can't not draw. So I don't think I really ever had a definitive moment of, though, this is what I want to do, because it's just kind of always been what I've been doing.
I like that. And in your opinion, what do you feel like the role of an art? I was like, what role do you feel like an artist plays in society, in or just in the world in general? Like the role of artists, or just even whether it's fashion or it's like comic book literature, or, or just straight up just like on the wall, this is art. Like, what do you feel like is their role in society?
I think if you were to boil it down to the core, it would be that art is supposed to make you feel something. In a lot of cases, art is storytelling, whether it's a painting on a wall or a comic book or animations or something like that. But stories are also supposed to make you feel something one way or the other. Sometimes some people get very angry at modern art because they don't understand it or they think it's stupid or whatever. But it's still making them feel something. They
Mhm.
are seeing something and they are having an emotional reaction to it. And I think that is the core of what art is supposed to do. And there are so many things that utilize artists that people wouldn't think of. A lot of people want to rag on art as not being a real job. Okay, well, don't watch Netflix, don't read books, don't listen to music, don't, there are interior designers that arrange how products will be displayed on the shelves of a store so that it is easier for you to see what you're looking at and easier for you to find what you need. Like, that's an artist.
That's yeah. So they're really integral to society. Is is I think one of the best takes that there is. Um, you got one, Jay?
Oh yeah. I was actually gonna ask. I'm like, we talked about this earlier in the podcast, but I just want to revisit it. Like you guys said, certain people like yourself that actually love doing this. There's so many like different avenues. But like, what do you feel like is missing, like in the art community? Do you feel like as artists or as people, as fans, like we can actually like value from?
Um, the first thing that comes to mind is inclusion, because art is a language of sorts,
Okay.
and language is most effective when you have many different people sharing it.
Mhm.
Um, if you have one person who's telling the same three stories over and over again, that's super boring. If
Mhm.
you have 500 people all telling their own stories, that's when things get more interesting. And so many art styles have similar elements, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I do tend to feel like when I scroll through Instagram or whatever, a lot of popular artists have very similar styles. And it gets kind of boring to me, at least. If I wanted to see the same art all the time, I would do that. But when everybody is making the same thing, it makes it harder to find people who are doing something different. Um, it's something I saw a lot with comic books. I have loved comic books my entire life, and I've loved drawing my entire life. But for most of my life, I thought that I could not draw comic books because when I grew up, I was reading comic books mostly from like the 80s and 90s. And the 80s and 90s comic books had very distinctive art styles. And
Mhm.
I could not draw that art style. And in my younger brain, I was like, this is what comic book art is like, and I can't do that art, which means I can't make comic books.
Oh,
And it's getting a bit better now because we're seeing a lot more different types of art, different artists, online and in comic books. But it's still something that kind of hits me. And you can see it in other things too, like white artists not knowing how to color black skin, or white artists not knowing how to draw black hair, or not knowing, or trying to draw things from different cultures that they don't really understand, so they make a lot of mistakes.
Right.
And these are things that wouldn't be a problem if we could get those things directly from the people that are associated with them, instead of having them like three times removed from this random person on Instagram who's drawing more or less the same thing as five other people.
right. Yeah. And that actually takes me back to another conversation we had. I think it might have been last year. Um, I was we were talking about a form of inclusion, because without giving away what you and I are doing,
Mhm.
there is as far as our protagonist goes, you know, a certain number of male characters and a certain number of female characters. And, something that, I'm not sure if you pointed out to me or if it was a realization that, you know, there was, there is a somewhat lacking of like a number of female characters in our project. And so I felt really bad for it because it's like, well, I'm not trying to just say, there can't be, female characters, you know, and something I appreciated that you said was, well, most people tend to create what, they're familiar with and what they're, what they've known, just like my first protagonist is Black man, because I've been living that since like today's Monday, right? So forever.
I think so.
So, and I think as just even as a writer myself too, it's made me want to say, you know what, I want to, try and push to be better at this type of thing and maybe seek advice from people who probably who do live it. And if I can't myself do it, I want to find someone else who can do it and put them in the position so that they can then tell that correct story. Because inclusion is important, like even as far as like what we're all doing, like, we have, you who just are just a plethora of different labels and perspectives, even me and him, where like he likes manga, I like comics, he watches anime, I watch primarily DC movies, and then we have a straight up Marvel a lover right here. Yes, no beef though. There's no beef.
True.
No, I don't know about that though. I can't promise you that. I can't
Okay, but I watch anime too, so.
Yes.
Okay,
There
so-
you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
I'm sure this works out.
You know what? I have a question that I think
Oh,
both
God.
of you can help me with. Actually, I'm trying to get into anime. I'm really trying, but I am so overwhelmed by all the different types of anime, and I really want to.
Please tell me more. Keep talking. Keep going.
I-
I'm waiting for this day. Oh no, wait, what is today? What is today? What is today? No one talking. It's 1/44 of 2021. What is today? What is today? The 7th?
January 11th.
January 11th. It's January 11th, 1:44. I like to go on record that he's actually. I think you're gonna ask what I think you're gonna ask.
Let's see.
You want to start?
What is a good and some good animes to get into? And I want to start first because I already know like you're gonna amp up, but I want to give Abby the chance.
Please go,
if you
Abby.
if you could recommend just like
Top 6. If you have to, for a newbie, top
Mhm.
6.
and our
Okay.
listeners who are newbies as well. and
Well,
viewers.
for a current show that's still going on, My Hero Academia, you need to watch that.
You need to watch that.
One, because you love superheroes and it's
Yes,
a
we
superhero
do.
anime. Two, just as a point of how good this show is, I have 3 different people that are not anime fans that I have convinced to watch this show, and now they are obsessed with it.
Ah,
So definitely My Hero Academia. It's just
It's just
so good.
You
It's
love
so
superheroes.
good.
This is right up your alley. I
Okay.
don't know.
It is.
Yeah.
Because it's about kids learning to be superheroes, but it's also about, like, what does it mean to be a superhero? Do my actions matter more than the end product, or does the end product outweigh my actions? So there's a lot of good moral questions in there, that things that I think the superhero genre could use a little more of.
okay.
For completed series, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood,
Yes.
for the same reason,
Yes.
because I have once again two of the 3 people that I got into My Hero are my brothers, and they are like not anime fans, they don't like the art style, whatever, which valid, everybody likes what they like.
Right.
But I started watching it with my sister, and they like walked into the room one day and started watching it, and then they had to watch the entire thing. So we would like all huddle around my computer watching it on my computer at like 10 o'clock at night, and we'd finish an episode, and my brothers would be like, can we watch the next one?
That's the best. That is the
Yeah. So it's definitely those 2. As for other ones, honestly, I haven't watched a ton of anime, and I'm not sure what else I think you might like. My husband really likes like Doki Doki romance animes, so we watch some of those, and they're really like wholesome and feel good.
They are.
I I feel like I don't watch a lot of like serious animes, but
I'm
that's just
I'm
me.
I'm very basic, and before I throw it over to Jay, I've only ever watched in its entirety, because I mean, like anyone who's ever had Cartoon Network has probably seen like at least like Dragon Ball Z or Naruto here and there.
Yeah.
But the one I've watched in its entirety, and this just proves how basic I am, is One Punch Man.
There's
That
nothing wrong with One Punch
I
Man.
season
I
one
haven't seen it,
is
but Mob Psycho 100 is by the same
Yes, you need
person,
to
and that is
start.
also a
Yes,
really good show.
yes,
my,
real
my
amazing.
brother came into town from Vegas, right? He's like 13 years old. I haven't seen him in like I had to my just making sure I haven't seen him in like a few years. So I said, man, I really because like I've been sending him comics, and like I sent him the Injustice series. He's been powering through those. My favorite Wonder Woman comics, Harley, uh who was a couple too. Like I like some abstract ones, like just like not like your classic, Superman and Batman. So I want to send
You like Hawk and Dove, which is a
Hawk and Dove,
Hawk and Dove, Teen Titans.
Cloak and even Cloak and Dagger from Marvel. But
Yeah.
I say that to say that I asked him, hey, what are some good animes just to start me out with? Because like I've only seen a couple, like, and some of them just like have like these filler episodes that go on for ever. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, dude, I'm really trying. He recommend that Mob
Psycho 100.
Mob Psycho 100.
Yes.
Excuse me. And he showed me like a little clip. I'm like, okay, this is pretty fire. I'm gonna definitely check this out.
Okay. For me, I would have to say, do you like Harry Potter?
Yes.
Okay. Well, imagine Harry Potter, and just imagine a world of Harry Potter, and there's normal people too, but they're wizard guilds and they fight for money. But instead of being money, it's always powerful entities, and it's very, very interesting.
What's it called?
Fairy tale. Fairy tale.
Oh, yeah.
It the concept of it, the characters from start to finish, I loved it. But who the award goes to is the voice actor, the narrator. It goes to him. It goes to him just because the way he sounds every time there's always a problem. Starting a beginning or ending an episode, he's hilarious. If I had to give it to him, he'd be the Morgan Freeman of like anime voices. Because I do not know his name. But yes, fairy tale.
Give me two more after that.
Two fairy tale, easy. You like people beat the snot out of each other?
Wait till you read our comment. Absolutely.
Okay, I know you love Mortal Kombat. Then you should start with Baki. Baki. It's like Dragon Ball Z. Just take the Super Saiyan away, and just everyone's wailing on each other to death.
Okay.
So Yamcha actually has a fighting chance against Majin Buu type stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's like I'm sorry. I like when people beat the snot out of each other. I'm sorry. I love a boxer anime. I love it. And final one for you. Just because you like intellectual stuff, I would have to go for you is actually Death Note.
No, I've seen Death Note actually.
Note.
I'm sorry. Wait.
Just because
fast.
how you are like contextually how I read your books and how you're you guys. I know you guys have a project, but your other projects you've been working on, you're a very intellectual thinker, especially when it comes to stuff like that. You like to put a message in front of them, but he's like, oh, you guys can watch this, but there's something going on over here, by the way. Just putting that out there. Death Note would definitely work for you.
I will actually say, because I forgot about Death Note, I've read the book, I've seen the anime, and I've seen, I don't know, I think it's the Japanese live action one, the good one. No, not the Netflix.
Not the Netflix one.
Not the Netflix one. The actual good one. That was what because I forgot, because like that was such a time ago for me. That was a whole different version of me before I took writing seriously. Like I wrote, didn't take it seriously, and then there's me now seriously, and I forgot about that guy. So yes.
But yeah,
there's so I think there's like a million questions I want to say.
It doesn't matter.
I got sort of a hard one for you, Abby.
All right.
What is like one if you don't have a main one, what are like your source or sources of inspiration? Like you're sitting down and you're just going from scratch. What do you draw from? Like what is like your go-to place? Is it like, are you looking at what's going on in the world in the TV? Are you looking out your window just taking in how the world is? Are you just like in your own head? Are you listening to music or looking for emotions? What is your source of inspiration?
First of all, I'd like to appreciate the pun. What do you draw from?
Yes.
Intended or otherwise, quite excellent.
Well, we have the product right here. Right?
Yeah. So I draw from a lot of different things: music, games like video games, books, other comic books, fashion. I really love historical fashion. Um, Probably one of the biggest things for me is tabletop RPGs because I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons since I was in middle school.
Wow.
And that's actually, I actually met my husband at the RPG club at college. um,
Nice. Nice.
so that's where I get a lot of my inspiration. Is I like to draw a lot of my own characters, and most of the characters that I have are characters that, well, some of them were like for comic book stuff, but a lot of the ones that I have or ones that I have made for an RPG that we played at some point, and the game finishes or it dies, and I just can't stop drawing them. So, lot of it from RPGs, but also a lot from other things, music, TV shows, other comic books, fashion, things like that. A little bit of everything.
I actually I do have like a few more questions. Actually, I should have another question before because I got this Zoom for free, so I know we don't have a lot of time.
Right.
So, but before I throw it to you though, is and I think something that even you can attest to, and especially you, all three of us, when you tell people that you draw,
Oh man.
what is the most, for one, annoying question you get asked? Like examples, like when I tell people I write books, top three is it urban? Can you put me in your book? And this is a lot. Can I get it for free?
How do you answer that chronological in order? Now I'm asking you, how do you answer that in your like when people ask you that question, how do you answer that chronologically?
How would I answer those questions before I throw it to Abby? Is
Yeah.
I as far as urban, I've not written an urban book yet. But what's stopping me is people asking me if I write urban because then I don't want to write it now.
Well, now I'm not gonna.
Exactly. You'll get it when I'm ready. Can I put you in my can you put me in a book? Yes, you will die literally in the first paragraph for no reason. It was
Nameless. You will die nameless, but I will know who you are.
No, it'll be like Steph. It was like if her name is like if it's like names like Jordan or something like that. It's like book like chapter 1. Jordan looks both ways and then is impaled by a random pole from a construction site several miles away. And then the story starts.
There we go.
There you go. You died. Why'd you do that? Because you asked me a dumb question.
This is great.
And then the third one, wow, that costs $9. Can I get it for free? I'm like, yeah, sure. Can you give me back like 9 months to like a year and a half back? Because like even when like I sent you the comic, it only took me like several months. Like even if you minus like having a job, it's still like dial like most of the dialogue, even though I always say the rough drafts, like I literally look at that dialogue and I say it in like my voice, their voice, and then I have someone else read it to me, and then I just hate myself for like 10 minutes, and then I convince myself it's good.
Yeah.
So you can't like unless you can like give me back all those like hours and feelings and bothering the missus about is this good? No, it's not free. And now I pass you. What is like the most annoying / common questions you get asked?
Definitely the can you draw something for me? Like, can you pay me? But I'm very non-confrontational, so I usually don't say that. I'm just like, yeah, maybe later, and then I usually don't. But then again, most of the people who ask me that are people that I'm probably not going to see again. I get really annoyed when people ask me if I like make money off of it. They ask me if it's like my job. And part of that is because I'm a little salty that it's not my paying job right now.
Right now.
Also just because, whether or not I get paid for it doesn't mean I'm not an artist. You know, whether people are paying me for drawing or not, I'm still drawing. I'm still making art. I'm still an artist.
Mhm.
And you know, there's a whole argument online about, you know, people shouldn't have to feel the need to monetize their hobbies and blah blah blah, which I totally understand, but which is part of it, you know. Whether or not I'm making money is irrelevant to whether or not I'm an artist. And the third one, I guess the only other thing I can really think of is when people ask me weird questions about like doing naked studies. Or like if they ask if I had to like do nude figure drawing in college or like if I still do that or something like that. I'm
Well,
like,
that's like a
why are you so interested in that? That's kind of
hey,
concerning.
hey, you draw naked people? Are you
Yeah.
naked people? This December gets asked that question. I have a sister.
I'm so sorry.
Not to take you away from it, but like I have a sister-in-law who does photography. She actually shared some of those photos and the black and white ones on Facebook. I don't know
Mhm.
if you saw those ones.
I don't, maybe.
Well, either way, the common question you always get asked is like, so like, do you do like naked stuff? Like, do you want to ask my price or how? Like, what about like how is it? You just like go right to. Oh, you draw. You ever took a picture of a naked person? Like, well, no. She says no because that's just I'm not comfortable seeing people like that. And then I can imagine someone asking you, hey, you ever draw like the human body without clothes? Why do you want to know this?
Why are you asking?
Yeah. Like on one hand, it's kind of a dumb question because, you know, I went to school for an art degree. So, yes, figure drawing is a standard part of basically any art degree. And on the other hand,
Doesn't really matter.
why are you so concerned with it? We all know it's a thing that happens. You don't need to hear me say it. You don't need to hear me tell you, yes, I have spent hours staring at and drawing naked people.
I don't really want to imagine what that's like, to be honest. I don't want
Uh,
to.
uh,
I'm good.
okay.
I'm all the way good.
Never
So,
mind. Okay, you're
about
good.
about drawing naked people?
yeah, I
You
barely,
gotta practice. Where do you think you're gonna go to practice?
I don't even like, I barely even put kissing in like my books, man. Like,
I mean,
like
honestly, for me at least, because I was a little nervous about it the first time, and then uh, once I started drawing, it was no different from drawing like a bowl of fruit.
I think I mean, you're better than me because like even like let's just say, you know, I'm writing something, and maybe I have a somewhat promiscuous female character. I've had to ask my wife, Abby, and several people, okay, what is the least offensive way to say breasts? Because I could just say breasts,
I
but then
remember
I don't want to sound like I'm too scared to say something else. That's the thing. It's
this.
like, oh, he's scared to say whatever. I'm like, well, like you want to be respectful to the art and show that you're a serious artist, but you don't want to say, and we've said this before too, you don't want to say her bosoms hurt through
Yeah.
the freaking button-up shirt. It's like you
Yeah.
haven't seen breasts, have you, bro?
No.
I've only heard bosoms once in actual media.
I've only heard it in movies. I've never heard anyone actually say bosoms in real life.
Yeah, no, I think the only time I've ever heard it, it's been really creepy. So it was a really creepy context. So I kind of shy away from that word. It reminds me of my husband likes to show me posts from the men writing women subreddit because he likes to see me feel righteous anger.
Like, hey, look at this.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And it's like, wow, thanks. I hate it. I'm gonna go do my workout now and work off all this rage.
Dang it. I guess only really since we're talking about anime and superheroes and we're nerding out. Do you consider your talent actually a superpower?
As she does her superhero pose.
Yes.
You're right. There's a couple of facets to this answer. There's a debate between, you know, whether art is a natural talent or if it's a practice, and I think it's both. Some people have a natural affinity for art, just like some people have a natural affinity for math. And you know, some people can comprehend math really easily and can't comprehend drawing, and some people it's the other way around, or any other combination of things. So I think there is some degree of natural talent. but your natural talent isn't going to get you very far if you don't practice. So there's a lot, unless you're this one girl in one of my drawing classes
Okay, here
at
we go.
college who said that she had like never really drawn before in her life, and she only showed up because I went to a liberal arts school, so we had like weird requirements, so everyone had to take an art class before they could graduate. So she was a senior and she showed up at this drawing class. She's like, yeah, I never really drew before, and then everything she made was like effing amazing.
Hmm.
And I was like, you are either lying or you're not fair.
Yeah, either way,
um
stop it.
Right, right.
yeah. um As for the superpower, okay, so Forge from the X-Men.
Nice.
I assume you're familiar.
Yes.
I
Yes.
played him in a game once.
So his power works that he has an innate understanding of technology and things like that. So basically he's an inventor, and basically how his power works is that when he has an idea, he just knows exactly how it's going to work and he has a complete understanding of it. So he gets to skip the testing and trial phase.
Oh, that's
So everything that he makes is basically perfect immediately. And I used to sort of joke that that was my power, but with making characters. Because and I like to write sometimes too. So I like to write, I like to draw, I like to play RPGs, I like to play tabletop RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons. And these are all very character-centered things. And once I have an idea for a character, I don't need to spend a whole bunch of time thinking about it. I just kind of know. So like if I make a character for a game of Dungeons and Dragons, once I have an idea of who that person is, you can ask me just about any question about her and I'll have an answer immediately. And that's something that goes into my art too, because especially since I do a lot of comic book and concept art, I think about like their poses, their facial expressions, their style, their clothing, things like that. So since I have a pretty good grasp of who that person is before I start drawing them, it makes the drawing process a lot easier.
All right, cool. Give me that.
Here you go.
Oh, no, that was strong. Here. That was stupid. Oh, yeah. Okay, I had to mark that question off. I had to make sure I didn't say it again. Don't screw up. Like, don't screw up. Don't screw up. Don't screw up.
So before we really close out, we have like I think 2 more questions for you.
Right.
Do you want to take that one?
I do. I had to take it. Of course, I'll take it. Of course, I will. Honestly, because I remember you were saying earlier in the podcast, it was really do much of a deep dive into is that you do fashion, right? Like, do you have like a certain like? It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have. It literally could be anyone. Do you have like a particular like love of like a fashion brand or fashion line? And like, yeah, that's
So
And to also piggyback with his question too, with that, who is also your favorite artist or artists? So those
man,
two.
nice.
these are tough
Super.
questions. So the first, part of the reason I love fashion is because when I was much younger, I got these fashion paper dolls. They were the Gilded Age paper dolls. So they were like 18, yeah. So they're like fashions from the 1880s, 1890s, a little bit of 1910s. And they were just the most beautiful things that I had ever seen. And I have been.
Like, they were so amazing. I was like, the twinkle. There's the twinkle. There's the twinkle. Yep.
Yes. The twinkle with a lot of hands. So I adore Victorian fashion, which kind of influences a lot of my other tastes too, because I like Gothic fashion, as you may have noticed. Which is I particularly like Gothic fashion that's a little more influenced by the Victorian age. And same thing with steampunk, because steampunk is very Victorian, just with like leather and metal. So Worth dresses from, again, it's like 1880s, 1890s. Worth dresses are some of the most beautiful things I have ever seen. As for artists, I think one of my favorite comic book artists is Fiona Staples, because I love Saga. And also seeing her art was really sort of validating for me, because She is a comic book artist that doesn't do things she doesn't do things in that, 80s, 90s comic book style I was talking about before. So when I saw Fiona Staples comic book art for the first time, that was the first time I'd really registered that, like, oh, maybe different art styles can be in comic books too. And her art is just so, like, expressive, and it's seems very, if you look at, like, the individual details, it seems very simple, but it's so busy being, like, alive that you don't notice it. Because you're not looking at, like, oh, well, that's a very simplistic way to draw that thing. You're just thinking, like, no, I am literally in space right now on this planet with these people. um I also really love, I've been really obsessed with Jen Bartel lately, who she does a comic book. She did the Blackbird comic book, which I've read a little bit of, but I love the way she does colors is god tier. Since I'm mostly a comic book artist, I tend to do more with line work than color work, and her colors are just like, I don't understand how she does that. I think she's a witch. um another one that comes to mind, and I can't think of who it is. I'm gonna see if I can Google it real quick.
Google.
The Wicked and the Divine is a
Oh,
fantastic.
oh yes, that's a good one. That's
Yeah,
a good
that
one.
art style. Oh,
I used to
I
own
adore
those.
it.
I do.
Jamie McKelvey. Yeah,
Ooh, wait, I think you got me into that one too.
I
The
did.
Wicked,
Yes,
yes,
so
yes,
good.
yes.
And it's like a complete series. I really appreciate that. They showed up, they told their story, it had a clear ending, and then they were done.
Swear to God, I feel like too many, like whether it's a TV show or books or comics, sometimes it's just like like you got to have a clear ending. Everything needs a clear ending. Otherwise, like for example, I started reading the new Injustice because they came out with the new video game a couple years
Mhm.
ago, and they have now Injustice 2, and it just it's I mean I know what they're trying to do because like the comics are based with the game, but something about the first Injustice series, because it sets up and leads up to the game when it comes out, but it just had a lot more, like you could tell like these people put passion, there's a lot of heart into it. Like even when like at times like they would switch up the artists, and there was no disrespect to the artists themselves because that's their style, but like for what like they went for a while and then they suddenly changed it, kind of what you would have said it looked like a downgrade, but you could still tell that even with like the change in style, they were still going for something, and the story was still consistent. And now with this new series, it just feels like, well, how about money?
Yeah,
Let's just
yeah.
make money. Like
I adore comic books, but that's one thing I have with, I feel like it's DC and Marvel are particularly guilty of this, is that a lot of their big titles are designed to go on forever.
yeah,
And no story is good if it goes on forever. So
those are
you
the
have,
funny.
yeah, so you have things that, play out the same storylines over and over and over and over again because that's what works. And it works the first few times and it just doesn't really work anymore past that. But it's making them money, so they're not going to stop. So I've come to appreciate a lot more indie comics things like, Wicked and Divine. It's like 8 or 9 volumes, then it's done. Clear cut story. What happens happens. That's it. Um, as for TV shows like The Good Place, I don't know if you've seen that, but that's really good. It's only
I
four
love that
seasons.
show.
Yeah, it's so good, and they did the same thing. They showed up, they told their story. It was super popular. They could have kept going, but they said, "No, like this is our story. This is all we were ever going to do," and they cut it off before it could get bad.
And I think our final question is, what do you do in your downtime?
I draw.
Draw.
I draw.
Yeah, I try to make money off. I'm still doing. I can't
Yeah.
won't leave me alone.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, well, drawing like for the project, and then I'll be done with that. I'm like, cool, now I'm gonna draw my characters. I listen to music a lot. I play video games. Um, I don't watch a ton of TV unless I'm like watching it while I'm working on art. But so I do art, and then on my off time I do more art usually.
See, I envy that though. Like, what? Hey, writing's taxing. I would rather draw. Like, okay, cool. I did this professional thing. Like you'd never catch me like, oh, okay. Me and Abby just wrote this 8-part series, and I wrote a 8,000-page novel. No, wrong one. 8,000-word novel. That's a lot of pages. That's a lot of words. I'm gonna go write a fan fiction. Nope, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
My fingers hurt. I don't know what my thumbs feel like anymore. But
Well, but see, that's why I was having wrist problems back in September, because I was just drawing all the time.
I thought you like what like Drew. I thought I'm not gonna lie. I thought you made a line too sharp and you messed your wrist up. I'm like,
No, it was just
I,
because I was doing like body weight workouts, and then I was drawing, and then I was doing more drawing and stuff like that, and it was a little too much.
I think it's good to like not only like does your passion it crosses over to your professional and your personal. I think that's such a good thing for like other artists to see. It's like I can enjoy this professionally and personally, and I think that's needed.
That's true.
And I'm closing out. I just want to say thank you for your time. It's been just like the best hour and some change. And just also too, just personally, it's just good to have a good face to face with someone who I've been working with for now 2 years.
Yeah.
It's like again, like sending like constant like feedbacks, and like I was like giving critiques, and even the personal talk where there's no comic book talk, we're just like making jokes, because
That's what it's about.
yes, and even getting
Yeah.
a chance to like after working with you for as long as I have, I feel like I've gained a lot more respect for artists, and it's helped me reevaluate how I approach every comic that I want to write, and hopefully I could just keep holding on to you and just make like 100,000 more with you. Like if we ever blew up and say, hey, do you want like freaking Scott Snyder or Alex Ross? Nope, I'm good. I want Abby. Yes, I know they've made all my favorites, but I really want this one right here, please. Just this one.
Add that to the high praise list.
There you go. Like for me, like, and a little bias again, there's Alex Ross. There's, oh my God, what's his name too? He works with Scott Snyder a lot. He does a lot of Batman stuff with him, but those two are always a pair. And then there's Abby Rose. I'm like, that's it. I'm good. No one else. That's all I need. And do you want to close out anything?
I just want to say thank you for this chance and opportunity actually getting to meet you for the first time. I'm sorry for stumbling like a bumbling buffoon. Trust me, next time I will get better. This next time, I swear, this will not happen. But I
It's
just,
always good to go and practice, though.
this is always true. But it's
Yeah.
just,
Besides, that's what editing is for.
this is what editing is for.
I will say though, unfortunately, we're just gonna just put the whole thing so we're not editing.
Okay, screw it. But
And a bleep.
in a couple bleeps, in a bleep. I just, like I said, it was very insightful and very awesome and amazing for me to accept meeting you and picking your brain and learning that you're an otaku weeb. Yeah, otaku weaves. But yeah, it was just amazing. I love the chance and experience to actually sit down with another local artist and someone actually has the same interest that I am, and just shooting the shit. Just shooting the shit. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
No,
Make
thank
him
you. No, thank you.
No, make him watch My Hero Academia, and that is
Oh,
how you
I'm
can
gonna
thank
make
me.
you watch it. When this is over, we're going right upstairs and watching it.
Well, Mrs. has the TV.
Don't care. She's getting kicked the hell off.
Okay, you let me know how that
I'll
works.
go right now.
But before we officially close out, do you want to let the people know where they can find you, all your social media tags? I mean, I'm gonna also put them on the website too, but just so they can hear it from your voice. Where can they find Abby Rose?
So I am primarily on Facebook and Instagram, and I am very bad at posting on both of them. I'm trying to be better about it this year. I also have an art station that I'm trying to post on more often. Most of the time, if you're looking for me, you can just search for Abigail Rose. Um, Abigail Rose or Twilight Awakening, I think is my username on some things. Uh, yeah,
Okay. Oh, not to put on blast, do you still use your Patreon? Or is that just kind of like
I do. I do. I'm actually taking a slightly new direction this year. And what I plan to do for pretty much every month this year, if not all the months, is that again, taking my love of characters, taking my love of fashion, what I have planned is each year to do, or each month to do a new design for a different character. So like January, I'm doing like a human Gatomon design from Digimon. And February is going to be Angelomon.
yeah, good thing. He'd high five you if he could.
I would.
So sort of like casual, I think for Gatomon and Angelomon, I'm doing like sort of casual streetwear modern designs.
Sure.
I have some other Pokemon ones in mind. And that should be pretty much the entire year, I think.
And also, if you ever have like a bunch of like just art that you have lying around too, we would love to take them on the website and just put them as an open gallery.
Mhm.
So though, because of COVID, we can't do a physical gallery.
Yeah, you can't afford a physical gallery. Either.
Yes, too. That
Look
too.
at that.
We could do a nice digital presentation of your work too. So if you have any just like, I'm okay with this one, just being out there for free for people to see and to, of course we put like a little watermark or something so people would know that, hey, not taking this.
Yeah.
What's the name of your Patreon?
So that is also under Abigail Rose.
Okay. All right then. And Abby, it's been just a pleasure talking with you. And I look forward to completing our project and to make plenty more in the future.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was fun.
All right. I am